Hi, and welcome to our Retired Nomad Adventures.
I'm Retired Rick.
And I'm Daphne, and we are a retired couple traveling the world full-time with just a carry-on suitcase and a backpack and a $5,000 a month budget. And today we are coming to you on the first stop of this new leg of our travels. And so today we are in Istanbul, Turkey, and we get to share our first impressions of this incredible city with you. But you might ask, why are we in Istanbul, Turkey? And the reason is we plan our adventures sort of 6 months at a time, and we knew this time we were going to be spending our 90 Schengen days in Italy, and so we needed someplace close to that was outside of the Schengen zone to spend the other time that we weren't in our Schengen zone. And so even though I planned for 6 months, we travel for 5, and then we come back home to the United States for 1 month. So I had 5 months of travel, so we're doing 2 months in Turkey, between Istanbul and Antalya, and then we're getting on a cruise ship and heading over to Venice, which will drop us off in Italy, where we'll spend the rest of our time within that Schengen zone. And originally we planned to come to Turkey, we planned to come to Istanbul first, then Cappadocia, and then from Cappadocia to Antalya, back to Istanbul to hop on a cruise ship. But we canceled our plans in Cappadocia because Rick had a bit of a skin...
I messed everything up.
No, you didn't. He had a bit of a skin cancer scare, and so we got that looked at while we were traveling in Asia, and we ultimately ended up going to a dermatologist back in California, who did a great job, but the treatment that they thought he was going to need for that could have taken a bit of time, and we thought we may end up having to do that when we were in Istanbul. So we canceled Cappadocia to give us more time in Istanbul, and as it turns out, that's okay. We're so happy in Istanbul, and it gives us an excuse to come back to Turkey, right?
Yeah, a different place to explore, and we've never been here. I had my reservations about coming, but we'll see. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with some of the basics. Oh, I should also say that Rick's skin cancer is all taken care of now.
Good.
All good. The basics. So visa. Do you need a visa to come here? And the answer to that is no. Yeah, you used to need a visa as recently as just a year ago, but now we can stay as U.S. citizens with U.S. passports in Turkey for 90 out of 180 days with no visa required. So that's a nice perk. And then how did we get here? So transportation here, this was a long journey.
Yes, it was long. It was, I mean, all travel days it seems long, but this was really long. It was probably a total of 27 hours total of trying to get here.
Yeah, and I think that's because I booked our flights on points, and so I was looking for point flights, and there weren't very many that didn't include 2 layovers, and we don't typically have 2 layovers, but we did on this journey. My sister is going to join us here, and she was able to book a direct flight that was only 13 hours. She didn't use points, and so if you have the ability to book that direct flight, that would definitely be the way to go. The shining light at the end of that long journey, though, was coming into the Istanbul airport, which was fantastic.
The shining light is we had 2 layovers, and both layovers were at different lounges. So it was a long travel day, but don't feel sorry for us because we were in lounges. We were just tired just because we were up for so long. But the lounges make it nice.
That is true. But the airport in Istanbul is fantastic. It's laid out super simply, and by the time we got off of the plane, we went through passport control, we got our luggage, and we were in the taxi area within about 30 minutes of deboarding the plane. So that was great and super easy to navigate. Now, the area that is a little tricky to navigate is the taxi area. And so when you come out, our driver actually sent us a nice video showing us exactly where to come out to be able to get the taxis, and it was right next to the baggage control area. So we come out, and we had heard all kinds of horror stories about one of the big scams in Turkey is for tourists is taxis, and taxi drivers perhaps taking a little advantage of you. And so we knew we were coming in after a long flight, and we didn't want to have to hassle with any of that. So we paid more than we could have by having our hotel arrange transportation for us. We're glad we did that because it was a long flight, and just for peace of mind.
Just for the peace of mind. Just having somebody there to pick us up and to know exactly where we're going. Because the other issue I have is when we're in another country, you're never really sure about the address because it's not like the address that we would have in the States. There's different things, and you're just never sure if you're at the right place.
Well, and in this particular case, we were staying at the Crown Plaza, and it turns out there's 4 or 5 Crown Plazas in Istanbul. So having that transportation prearranged was really a good thing for us. But it was $85 through the hotel to have them transfer us, and the drive was about 45 minutes. We found that if you went to book it on Uber, so you can use the Uber app in Istanbul, but what will come is a taxi. So if we were to book it on Uber, it was going to be about $45.
45. They give you a range, a low range and a high range, and then after you pay, then there's also another fee on there for a some type of a user fee or something.
Yeah. And that was where we heard there perhaps were scams. So we just didn't want to deal with that. So we basically agreed up front to pay almost double.
Pay double, and it feels a lot better when you agree on something and you arrange something and you're paying double for something versus thinking you're going to pay something a lower price and then getting scammed and having to pay a higher price, which is probably the same price that we would have paid, but it just feels better if you arrange it.
Yeah, that we agreed to it up front.
You scam yourself.
Yes, scammed ourselves. That's right. So something we've learned though, since being in Istanbul, we were on a tour and our tour guide told us that the locals don't even mess with public transport, or they don't mess with taxis or any of that to go to the airport. Everybody just takes the bus. Well, Rick and I, if you've watched for any length of time, know that we're public transportation challenged.
Yes.
And so he really encouraged us, though, to take the bus. So one day we walked over to where the buses were in relation to our hotel, and it was maybe a 10-minute walk.
10-minute walk downhill with our luggage, so it was easy.
So we walked there. Rick talked to the bus driver. He told us exactly how it worked, and so we thought, okay, let's give it a try. So when we left to go to the airport, we took the bus, and how
under
easy.
$14
for both of us.
Both of us.
Yeah, they put our luggage right on the bus. We hopped right on. The seats were comfortable. It was still a 45-minute ride, and it was a fraction of the cost. And they dropped us off right in front of the departures gate. And so we would highly recommend doing the bus.
If we can do it, you know you can do it.
That's true. That's true. Next up for the basics is money. So what kind of money is used here? And here it is the Turkish lira. Yeah.
Yep.
And 200 Turkish liras equals $5, basically, kind of right about there.
And what's nice about that is the Turkish lira. I found out when I went to the ATM, I got I wanted to get a couple $100s out, and I got a big stack of Turkish lira, all in 200 Turkish lira notes. And I was kind of baffled by that, but we found out that the highest note is the 200 Turkish lira note. And for us, one 200 Turkish lira note equals $5. So we would just go 5, 10, 15, 20. So getting $200 worth out
with a big
Turkish
stack
lira
of
out
bills.
with a big stack of bills, I felt like I was doing a drug deal or something. It was just crazy. So I put it in my pocket really quick and went and told Daphne, I got a bunch of money here. And it lasts a long time because in Istanbul, or I guess in Turkey in general, that credit cards are really accepted everywhere.
Yeah, we haven't hardly pulled cash out at all because credit cards have been accepted everywhere. The exception is the street vendors here. The vendors are super clean, so we've had more street food than we've had in other places. So the street vendors, the outside markets, but beyond that, everybody takes the credit card.
Yeah, takes a credit card, your phone, just tap it. Ready to go.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
And the other thing is, we were surprised at how there's ATMs everywhere. Yes. So you're never going to be at a loss for being able to get money out. Don't worry about changing money before you come. There's ATMs everywhere. And then, of course, if you have one of those credit cards that reimburses you or doesn't charge you any ATM fees internationally. So we have Charles Schwab. Yeah. They reimburse us at the end of the month. So it's really been the money conversion rate, like figuring it out, and then being able to access money here has been super simple.
Very easy. Yep.
Yeah. And next up is our accommodations. And so we booked the Crown Plaza, Old City, Istanbul. And like I said earlier, there are several Crown Plazas, and I didn't realize that, but we booked the Old Town or Old City Crown Plaza, and it is a beautiful hotel. And I had emailed them before we came just to say it was our first time in Turkey, and we were super excited. And then when we showed up, we are Platinum Elite members with our IHG card, and we booked this hotel with points, and they upgraded us to a 2-room suite, which was really nice because that meant we both got our own bathrooms, and then you even had like a man's cave, like a den.
Like a little apartment. I call it my little apartment. When I wake up in the morning, I go into my little den and shut the doors, and I'm able to do my work.
Yeah, so that was nice. So the bed was super comfy, water was nice and hot. I enjoyed our stay there very much. They offered us at the very beginning the room upgrade, and then they also offered us 600 points or a welcome drink each. And so, of course, we took the welcome drink, but we didn't realize what a great deal that welcome drink was, because later we went during happy hour and got 1 beer and 1 margarita, because margaritas were part of the happy hour, and that bill for that was $37.
Yeah.
So that was expensive, so we're extra glad that we got the welcome drink for free as a part of our elite status. And then I will say that maybe the best thing about the hotel, we enjoyed everything about the hotel, but maybe the best thing is the location.
Yeah, it was right in the heart of everything.
Everything. So if you're coming as a first-time visitor to Istanbul and you want to be able to kind of walk to all the major historical sites, this is a great place to stay.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. All right, and the weather. We are here mid to end of July, and the weather's hot.
Yeah, it's hot.
It's summer.
But not unbearable. And as you're walking, there's plenty of buildings to give you shade. There's a slight breeze that comes up, and the walking has always been nice and not really overbearing, but it is hot, and if you're in the sun, you will feel it.
Yeah, it's definitely a intense sun, but I would say we go out in the morning and kind of do all of our sightseeing we have spent some afternoons out too, and it's between high 80s, low 90s, and it's bearable. It's kind of like a California heat, so I know it's funny for people to say it's a dry heat, but it really is a dry heat. There's no humidity that comes along with it, at least not while we've been here. But just know that if you come in July, it's summer, and you're going to have to deal with the heat.
Yep.
We haven't even eaten at a restaurant inside. We've eaten outside the whole time, so it's really not that bad. And then next is transportation. How do you get around? And as usual, we
use our legs.
we walk. And boy, Istanbul, at least the area we're staying in. So right now we're exploring sort of this one old town area, and all of the major sites are right here. And so it's nice and compact and super walkable.
Super walkable, super clean. Sidewalks are wide.
Yeah, and clean. And when we sent videos home, that's the one thing that people kept commenting. They kept saying it's so clean and beautiful, and it is. It's very cosmopolitan, like really nice. Cobblestoney kinds of streets, so if you have any trouble with uneven surfaces, that would be something to consider. And many places are at an incline. I'm being really nice by not saying on hills, because
they're on hills. They're on hills. The sidewalks are uneven in a lot of spots.
Yeah.
But in a lot of spots they're slick too. So if it get any bit of rain, you have to be careful. So walking is easy, but you have to be aware of where you are, because you could trip very easily.
Yeah. So if you have any mobility issues at all, that's where it might be a problem. Thankfully, we don't. So it's been really easy to walk around. The thing I will say is you do have to be very careful when you're out on the sidewalks, because you share the sidewalks with motorcycles, mopeds, and those electric scooters. And the Turkish people, they drive fast.
They are the fastest drivers I've seen in all
on the sidewalk, driving on the sidewalk, driving really fast. So they will just zoom past you, and so you have to be very careful, because they come from all the different directions. And if you get distracted like me by looking at a handbag you're walking past, the person coming behind you is gauging where you're walking, and if you veer it all to the side, you could very easily get taken out. So you do have to be careful. There's not a ton of them on there, so it's not like you're battling them all the time, but when they are there, they're fast. Yeah. So be careful of that. And the public transportation system is really well developed. In the area we're staying, there's a tram that goes right down through the heart of the city, and easy to navigate. There's also a metro system, and then they even have the boats on the river that will take you from the European side over to the Asian side as a means of transportation. So they have a very well developed transportation system. And then if you're wondering what is there to do in Istanbul, will there be enough to fill your time? And
there will be.
Yeah, the answer is absolutely yes. There are so many beautiful historical sites. There's the Hagia Sophia, there's the Basilica Cistern, there's the Blue Mosque, there's the Grand Bazaar. I could just keep going on and on. There are so many beautiful historical sites that you can see from the outside, go in and enjoy from the inside. We kind of picked and chose which ones we were going to go into based on entrance fees and all of that, but we were never without something exciting and interesting to do.
Right.
Maybe the most interesting thing is just walking, and you turn a corner and there's a big, beautiful mosque. You turn a corner and there's a gorgeous university right in the middle of the town.
You don't have to worry about taking beautiful pictures, because whatever picture you take is going to be beautiful. It's like a movie set. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
just everyday life, but it's amazing.
It's stunning, and it's a different kind of beautiful. It's very, I think I used the word already, but for me, I just kept thinking very cosmopolitan. Like, it reminds me a bit of Lisbon, if I had to compare it to somewhere, but just beautiful. And I will say that if you want the ultimate girls trip for a shopping trip, Istanbul is the place to go. I know people say Bangkok is the place, but oh my goodness, the prices here and the variety and your choices here are so good in terms of shopping. So at some point, I would love to come back. Rick can come too, but I need a girlfriend to come shopping with here, because the shopping is that good. And we just have our carry-on this time, so I don't get to take advantage of any of that.
But from a guy's perspective, like, I would love to go into all the shops and look around and just browse. I'm not going to buy anything, but we haven't done that here in Istanbul, because they want to sell you something so bad that they will follow you in. They encourage you to come in. They want you to look at their stuff, and you feel guilty because you know you're not buying, but you don't want to waste their time. And they're just being nice, and they just want you to buy something, but they're right there. So you're not going to be able to go right in and browse and look at something and put something down. They're going to try and get you to buy it. So if you don't like that, you might have an issue. But there are deals to be had.
Yeah.
So.
That's true. Other things that there are to do, there's all kinds of tours you can take. So we did a walking tour one of the first days we were here, just to kind of get our bearings. We had also booked a daily life tour, which I was really excited about. They were going to kind of talk us through the educational system, their medical system, all of those things. They ended up having to cancel that tour. And then also... Yeah, we were the only ones that signed up for it. And also a food tour got canceled, but that would have been something really exciting to do. We did do a nighttime sunset cruise on the Bosphorus River, which was fantastic. We also did a coffee making class. Yeah, that was really interesting. Well, really interesting, because we didn't realize there was a fortune telling session attached to it. So they read our coffee grinds after we drank our coffee.
So I have some fortune coming to me. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, she did a lot. She spent a lot of time on Rick's reading and gave us all kinds of information. But at the end, she said the bottom line is that you're entering a lucky phase.
Lucky phase.
So Rick's entering a lucky phase. So that was really interesting. There really is so much to see and to do here. I don't know if I mentioned the Grand Bazaar. I mentioned shopping, but there's the Grand Bazaar also. So.
And just be aware, because when you walk into the Grand Bazaar, it's grand. And it is overwhelming at first. And the first time we went in, we kind of left because it was so overwhelming, but then going back, it's amazing.
It's beautiful. So I think that was the thing. I was expecting a bazaar, so I kind of thought maybe outdoors. I had a much simpler idea in my mind, but when we walked in, it was like, felt like Rodeo Drive. Like, it was just beautiful. It looked fake, and it was just so lovely that we really were overwhelmed, and we stayed for about 5 minutes left, and then came back a couple times later and stayed much longer. And then all of the things we just described are just in our little local old town area. And you could go over, I'm going to say this wrong, but Taksim area, Taksim area. And then there's all kinds of things over there. You can also go over to the Asian side, and there's all kinds of things to see and do and explore there. So we have just scratched the surface of what there is to do. And
we still had a good time.
And there was plenty of it. So you will never lack for things to do here in Istanbul. Next up is dining and sort of local food, and we will start with breakfast. And breakfast, you have several options. One is our favorite thing that we kind of did most days is we got a Turkish bagel, and so it's sort of a thinner, larger bagel than like a New York bagel, and it's got sesame seeds on it. And we would always get the cheese with tomato, and you just get them from a food stall, a kiosk. So you walk up, and for less than $2.50, we both get a big bagel for breakfast, and then we would go find someplace, either a cafe to have a cup of coffee, or even in the little park area, we would sit and have our bagel and coffee and sort of people watch. Yeah. I'd say that's what we did most often, and that was a great meal. But you have to, when you're here, get a Turkish breakfast. The Turkish breakfasts are this big spread.
It's a big display.
Yes, I think of it like a Sunday morning breakfast back in the States, right? Or a big English breakfast. So it's a but instead it's almost like a charcuterie board for breakfast items. So you have all these little small plates plus eggs and bread and hot tea and hot coffee, and you sit and relax and enjoy that for a period of time.
It's meant to be enjoyed, and you'll just sit there and just be talking and getting a little bite here, a little bite there, olive here, olive there, cheese, whatever.
Yeah. Fantastic. So you've got to do a Turkish breakfast when you're here. The other thing is they have an egg dish that's very specific to Turkey, and it's like scrambled eggs with red peppers and tomatoes and delicious. So you've got to try their Turkish morning egg dish. That's fantastic also. And of course, Turkish coffee can't be missed. We told you we did a coffee making class, which was fantastic, but we probably had coffee 2 or 3 times each day.
Right. Yeah.
And then something we don't have at home very often is tea, but we had tea every single day here. So the Turkish tea comes in these cute little tulip glasses, and at the end of every meal, they served us the tea, and we got to where we looked forward to it and really loved that.
Looking forward to the tea and the little dessert that they give with it. So it's a nice little treat. And one thing that's nice is if you go to another country and they make coffee different is we took that coffee tour, and you find out the proper etiquette on how to drink the coffee and what to expect. And I did everything wrong, because the first time I had coffee, I stirred it up and the grounds are on the bottom, and so I did everything wrong. But if you go to the coffee making thing, you realize that you just let it sit, you sip it slowly, and you do it properly, and don't do it like I did.
And the tea service here is incredible. So we were seeing people with these silver trays, very elaborate, and then those glass tulip glasses, and they would go, somebody would go from store to store dropping off tea for all the different shop owners and workers, and you see that everywhere you go. And as it turns out, every little local area has their own tea shop, and it's a service, almost like a subscription service, and you pay monthly, and it's pennies to have these cups of tea delivered throughout the day. So it's a very social sort of event also, but throughout the day, tea is served.
Yes.
Something else that was maybe my favorite, I don't know if it was your favorite or not, but my favorite was a fish wrap is what we heard we had to get. And so we went and got a fish wrap and a fish sandwich from this very specific place down by the river. So flavorful and so delicious, and so
very good. That was really good. We tried to get some fish dishes where we're at in the Old Town, and as you know, if you're watching our channel, I love grilled fish, and the grilled fish was fine here, but then if you get closer to the water where these fish sandwiches were, is fantastic. It's really good. And there's been a couple of restaurants that I would have pasta, and I really like that too. But don't take my word for it, because as a viewer has said before, and me describing my desires and my taste, they stated that I have the palate of a yak. So you might not want to take my advice, but I like the food that I had.
Well, and yes, and we maybe missed out on quite a bit, because we don't eat beef, we don't eat chicken, we don't eat lamb, and so those are some really popular dishes here. So we had the lentil soup, which was fantastic, the hummus and the bread, which was fantastic, and so the things that we had, we feel like we didn't maybe give the food the fair shot it deserved, because the things that people mostly like here have to do with kebabs and different meat dishes that we didn't necessarily take advantage of.
Right.
But we did love the baklava and the Turkish delights, and there is plenty to eat here.
Yes.
And one other thing to note when it comes to the food is that we have heard people say again and again that the prices in Turkey have really gone up, and I would say that we see that. And so a typical breakfast, so we got a breakfast where we got that Turkish egg dish each, and then a coffee each, and that was $35.
Couple of fried eggs.
Yeah, we got 2 fried eggs to go with that, and that was $35. And most dinners that we had out were just under $40. And know that for us, we specifically picked places that were inexpensive or a little cheaper than everywhere else. And so we could have easily spent double that. But we searched and tried to find places that would kind of meet within our budget. And so we spent about $40, just under $40 for each dinner.
And just be aware, and we've noticed in our travels, and it's kind of everywhere besides the United States, but in the United States, you order a coffee and you'll have, like if you're sitting at a cafe, you order a coffee and then they'll refill your cup. Here, which I would consider a cafe, you order a coffee and you're not getting another cup. You're paying for another cup. So they'll gladly bring you another cup, and I've ordered another cup before, but you're not getting refills. So just know that that's an extra cost that we're not used to, but on our travels, that's how it works.
It is interesting because that is an area where, so I think I've shared with you before that I don't mind spending money on a tour. So if I need to spend $200 to go on a tour, I'm really happy to do it. Rick is hesitant there, and he'll have pause before he does that. But when we're at a restaurant, if Rick wants a second cup of coffee, he's going to have a second cup of coffee. Me, I'm going to say, I think that Diet Coke's too expensive. I'm going to have no drink with my meal. Right. I don't like to spend the money on the food. But a cup of coffee was about $2.50 for that single cup. So $5 if you wanted a couple of cups of coffee. Something else is that grocery stores in Istanbul, there's not really, at least we didn't find any big grocery stores, which was fine for us. We were in a hotel, so we weren't going to be able to cook in the room anyway. There were lots of local markets, kind of corner markets that were lovely and easy to go into.
Very small, but they have little things that you might need to grab real quick.
Yeah.
Drinks, chips, toothpaste, fruit, something.
Yeah. Any little things that you need. And then we found a Migros, Jet, right. So kind of an express market, and I would liken it to kind of a 7-Eleven. So there were plenty of places to pop in and get those small items that you might need. Yep. And then the next, for Rick, we always are interested in the haircuts, and for me, sort of personal care. And I'll start us by saying that the Turkish women are beautiful. Like, they're so well put together. They're just beautiful. And so there are all the cosmetics that you could want anywhere, or anything that you want, you're going to get here. And so you're not going to be struggling to find anything you need. And their cosmetic store is kind of everywhere. So in terms of personal care, you're going to be well taken care of.
And then for a haircut, we were just walking down the street around. Well, let me say first, around our area, kind of a tourist area, the haircuts were a little more expensive. So as we were walking, I never got at the more expensive ones. As we were walking, there was some guy there that barbershop looked clean, and I just walked in and he did my hair. I got a haircut. I got my eyebrows trimmed, my mustache trimmed. I had a head massage. My ears were trimmed. I had
You even washed your hair.
I washed my hair and then combed it, and then afterward gave me some kind of a
tonic or toner.
Something like that, and it was all under $10 with a tip.
Yeah, and he was so nice too, and it was just this little random street we were walking down going somewhere else, and so we just popped in. It was fantastic. He even gave me, I think he called it aftershave. Yeah. He even gave me some. It smelled like lavender. It was fantastic.
Offered tea or coffee.
Yeah, So I'd say, and this is the cut, so I'd say that was a real score. Okay, so what are your overall first impressions of Istanbul?
I was hesitant to begin with. I didn't know the culture. I didn't know the people. And the first day we got here and started walking around, I was amazed by the cleanliness, and the people were friendly, and the accessibility to everything was really easy, and I felt really comfortable right away.
Yeah, I was shocked at how comfortable, how quickly I felt. And when you say the Turkish people are friendly, I'd say they're very charming. Like, I can be very charmed by the Turkish men. Right. We saw lots of Turkish men out and about doing all kinds of things in groups. So they might have been swimming in the river. They might have been playing board games, sitting and enjoying each other's company, having tea. We didn't see many Turkish women out and about.
I think that's what, as I was walking, I was looking around, and I'd see all the men at the businesses, at the coffee shops, at the restaurants, swimming like you said. Mm-hmm. But I did not see a lot of women with the men. There might be women together, but for the majority during the day, I didn't see any women, and that really stood out to me.
Yeah. Rick pointed that out, and then I really noticed it too. So it was just interesting, but you can tell that those social networks really matter, and we know from blue zone areas how important that is. So it was nice to see. I would say it's a deeply layered city full of all kinds of history, and it's been wonderful to go and explore. The calls to prayer throughout the day was something so new to us, and so beautiful. So, even if you're not a religious person, or you're not called to that prayer that it's calling you to, it's still a wonderful reminder.
It's a nice reminder. In the morning, you hear the first call to prayer.
Well, Rick does, because he's always up for it.
It's like 4:45 or something like that. So you hear the first call to prayer, and it's just amazing, because you sit and reflect, and you're thankful for where you're at that time.
Yeah, it sort of sets the tone for the day, and then those little lovely reminders throughout the day. So this is a rich and beautiful city, and I would highly recommend it, period, on its own. But then, especially if you're looking for an area outside of the Schengen zone, gosh, this feels like a really beautiful place to come. All right, so we hope this has been helpful. If you are at all interested in coming to Istanbul, we definitely would encourage you to do so. And then we hope to see you next week as you join us for more retired nomad adventures. And until then, bye.